Hello everyone, welcome to Broadview. My name is Joseph. So today we're going to be talking about the extraordinary Hopi prophecies. All 9 of their pre-disaster omens have already occurred, so what is their secret to survival? In the state of Arizona, in the USA, there is a prophecy rock near a place called Oraibi. On this piece of rock are carved the ancient prophecies of the Hopi Tribe, which are tens of thousands of years old. The Hopi Tribe, having accurately foretold the 2 world wars, are regarded as the prophets of mankind's history. The Hopi prophecies have also mentioned that we humans today are at a critical moment in history. The transition from the old to the new world, as well as the purification of the universe through the elimination of the impure. They also predicted that 9 major omens will manifest before the Great Catastrophe. And to this day, those 9 omens have all occurred. Interestingly, the Hopi prophecies also gave people another crucial piece of information, and that is the secret to surviving the Great Catastrophe. The Hopis, currently living on the Hopi Reservation in northern Arizona, are an ancient Native American tribe, whose ancestors migrated from Mexico about 5,000 to 10,000 years ago. The complete name of the Hopi is Hopitu Shinum, which means people of peace. The Hopi tribe values spirituality, morality, and cultural beliefs. They love peace, revering, respecting, and living in harmony with their surroundings. The Hopi's ancestors have passed down many prophecies about the origin, history, and the future of mankind. Now, from the 1950s onward, the Hopi elders gradually started to share those prophecies with the public. At the time, the prophecies sounded kind of strange, but if we look at them now, those seemingly peculiar things are making a lot more sense. For example, they said that, quote, "At a certain point you will find that men are becoming women. The great gods created man, but the man at this time will say, 'I know more than the gods, and I will turn myself into a woman.' He could even bear children. The great gods created women, but this woman will say, 'I know more than the gods, and I will make myself into a man.' Then she will really turn herself into a man." End quote. They also said that, quote, "At a certain point, humans will find their design diagrams," end quote. And this is referring to the DNA, and that humans will start to change those diagrams, again referring to genome editing, which has now been taking place. The Hopi say that the world originally consisted of just unending space, with no beginning and no end, no time and no life. Tawa, the creator, created Sataknan, the god known as the creator's nephew, who, under the creator's guidance, created various solid substances, including 9 universes, water, and air. After that, Sataknan used clay to create people with 4 different skin colors. We're talking about yellow, red, white, and black. And he gave those people wisdom and the ability to reproduce and speak different languages. The people of the 4 races each had a different duty, and the Hopis called them the guardians. For the red-skinned Native Americans, their creator made them the guardians of the earth. They were to learn that all knowledge of the earth, such as how to grow food from the ground, how trees can bear fruit, how certain herbs can cure diseases, and so on. The Native Americans were to share that knowledge with their brothers and sisters of different races. We know that the Native Americans indeed once led the world in agricultural innovations. For example, 500 years ago, the Eastern Hemisphere did not know what corn was. It was the Native Americans who first cultivated corn, which then spread across the world. Additionally, tomatoes, cucumbers, pumpkins, zucchinis, and chili peppers were all gifts from the Native Americans to the world. The yellow-skinned people were deemed the guardians of the wind. They were supposed to learn about the sky and breathing, using this to help with spiritual advancement, and then share their knowledge with the world. For generations, ancient Asian peoples have been studying and doing spiritual practices. This was especially prominent in the 1970s when China experienced a Qigong fever that peaked in the 1980s. During this time, one could see Qigong practitioners in virtually every corner of every Chinese park. Not only were countless people able to recover from complicated illnesses after practicing Qigong, but the energy practices also brought about a myriad of miraculous phenomena, such as supernatural powers. In fact, it's said that energy practices are a way of cultivation that was brought to people in order to elevate mankind's realm and level of life. The Western black-skinned people were deemed the guardians of water. They were to study the revelations of the most humble and powerful core of all matter, and that's water. As for the northern white-skinned people, they were made the guardians of fire. If we look at their inventions, we'll find that most of them consist of fire. For example, light bulbs have the element of fire in them. Cars have spark plugs, and planes and trains all use fire in some way, etc. Fire has the ability to burn and travel, which might explain why white people were the first to migrate across the globe and unite all of us into one large family. A long time passed, and the Great Spirit gave each race 2 stone tablets. The Native Americans kept theirs on a towering plateau at the Hopi Reservation in Arizona. Records indicate that the black-skinned people kept theirs on Mount Kenya, and the yellow-skinned people kept theirs in Tibet. It was also said that the Swiss are the guardians of the traditions of the Europeans. Later, the 4 races of people started to migrate and live in different places. The Creator, before leaving the people, said, quote, "The reason I gave you all this is to enable you to all live happily. But there is a requirement, and that is that you have to revere your Creator and the love that He has given you at all times. Do not forget this as long as you live." End quote. But as time progressed, people's selfish desires grew and their moral standards declined. Gradually, they stopped respecting their Creator. So in order to set right the course of mankind, the Creator started afresh and created another civilization. Now, according to the Hopis, the previous 3 worlds were each destroyed by wildfire, freezing rivers, and floods, respectively. Our current civilization is in the 4th world, which is now also on the verge of destruction. And the destruction of the 4th world will usher us into the 5th world. Frank Waters, an American author known for his historical works, wrote of a Native American elder who had left a warning to the posterity that the 4th world shall end soon, and the 5th world will begin. He also said that the great disaster will come after the 9 omens take place. The first omen. Quote, "We are told of the coming of the white-skinned men, who took the land that was not theirs, and men who struck their enemies with thunder." End quote. This refers to the Europeans migrating to the Americas with guns. The second omen. Quote, "Our lands will see the coming of spinning wheels filled with voices." End quote, referring to the wheels of Europeans' wagons. The third one. Quote, "A strange beast like a buffalo, but with great long horns, will overrun the land in large numbers." End quote. This refers to the European cattle that the whites brought to America. The fourth one. "The land will be crossed by snakes of iron." Isn't that what our railroads look like today? The fifth one. Quote, "The land shall be crisscrossed by a giant spider's web." End quote. This probably refers to the electric wires and telephone lines. The sixth one. Quote, "The land shall be crisscrossed with rivers of stone that make pictures in the sun." End quote. This apparently refers to asphalt roads. The seventh one. Quote, "You will hear of the sea turning black and many living things dying because of it." End quote. This perhaps refers to oil spills and ocean pollution. The eighth one. Quote, "You will see many youth who wear their hair long like my people, and they'll come and join the tribal nations to learn their ways and wisdom." End quote. This is akin to the young people's hippies movement in the 1960s. The ninth one. This is the last omen. Quote, "You will hear of a dwelling place in the heavens, above the earth, that shall fall with a great crash. It will appear as a blue star. Very soon after this, the ceremonies of my people will cease." End quote. According to an Australian eyewitness in 1979, when the US launched space station fell, it emitted a blue flame. Some people thus speculated that this matches the 9th omen. If this is true, then the 9 omens have already all occurred. This means that the purification period before the 5th world will begin, followed by the great disaster. The Hopi said that at this time, a lot of people will find their traditional values once more and begin anew. From another perspective, Christian texts say that lightning will emit from the east and illuminate the west. The Hopi prophecy also mentioned that there will be a different faith that might unite all peoples. The Hopis believe that Pahana will return from the east and lost brothers from heaven will return. They will plant the seeds of wisdom in people's hearts and share a new faith. All you have to do to find them is use the rock's carvings, and when you find them, you will be saved. Because of this, the carved prophecies are considered to be hiding the Hopi's secret to salvation. This rock carving is said to be tens of thousands of years old. We can see the symbols drawn on it. The symbol on the far left in the sun is a swastika, which represents the great enlightened Buddha in Eastern religions. It has existed in our human civilization for 2,500 years at least, but it was stolen and its meaning twisted by Hitler during World War II. So some people think this symbol represents Hitler, but that's actually false. Beside the sun is a larger human figure. It represents a life higher and greater than human beings, the Great Spirit. The symbol on the right is the Celtic cross, which comes from Christianity and is red. Many people in the East believe that the shape of the Great Spirit's left hand is a bowl. The bowl, together with the sun and the Buddhist symbol, represent the idea that the source of the energy mankind depends on for survival comes from the Great Spirit. Then the Great Spirit points to two different paths with his right hand. One is the material path walked by most people, referring to our scientific path today. The path below is a narrower spiritual path that leads to a harmonious coexistence with nature. The little circles refer to each of the purification periods. The small circle on the far left refers to the elimination period at the beginning of this civilization, perhaps coinciding with the legendary flood, while the two circles on the spiritual path below show, quote, the great shaking of the earth, end quote, referring to the First and Second World Wars. The three vertical lines are like a ladder, representing three opportunities for human beings to choose between the material path and the spiritual path. But many in the end chose the material path of indulgence. The crucifix represents Jesus' teachings, which gave the people a second chance to take the spiritual path. But many people still chose the material path. Some people believe that the four smaller stick figures represent the past three worlds and the current fourth one we live in right now. The third line of the ladder is the last chance for people to choose the spiritual path. If people still choose the material path, they will face endless bumps and eventual destruction. But if they choose the spiritual path, they will meet the last small circle, which is believed to be the great purification period that is taking place right now. After that, crops will flourish, divine beings will return to earth, and life will continue in an everlasting cycle. After analyzing all this, the Hopi prophecies seem to be reminding us that the scientific path and the path laid out by the divine will lead us to two completely different results. And when faced with the opportunity to choose, the divine beings will watch which one we choose. And this will be our last chance. A lot of people are deeply influenced by modern science. And when they are carelessly enjoying the material comfort brought by technology, they are actually unknowingly indulging their greed and desires, distancing themselves from the divine in the process. This is very dangerous. From this perspective, mankind must choose to respect the Creator's teachings and the compassionate, righteous, and traditional path laid out by the Eastern Saint, in order to survive the end-time catastrophe, so that the continuation of life can be eternal. There are in fact various interpretations of the stone carving we just talked about. What do you think it is telling us? Feel free to share your theories down below. Alright, that's the end for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our channel, and please check out these two other popular episodes of ours. We'll see you next time.